Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Mas Patel, and today we have a crucial topic to discuss: Syria's path forward, what lies ahead, and how to get there. In November 2024, Syria experienced a dramatic and rapid revolution that led to the fall of President Bashar al-Assad's regime, supported as he was by Iran and Russia, and after a decade of conflict since the Arab Spring began all the way back in 2011. The al-Assad regime and family business of terror had lasted for more than 54 years, and this lightning, unexpected revolution driven by a coalition of opposition forces has reshaped the political landscape of the country. We will delve into the complexities of Syria's current situation, the challenges of rebuilding a nation torn apart by years of war, and the potential paths forward for its people. The disintegration of security institutions has left a vacuum that needs to be filled to prevent chaos and ethnic cleansing, or ethnic violence rather, and revenge on pro-Assad supporters. The new interim president, Ahmed al-Sharaa, has vowed to pursue the criminals who shed Syrian blood and committed massacres and crimes, whilst across its border sits Israel, a genocidal regime with designs to reshape the Middle East in its own image, perhaps even a threat to Syria. Maybe millions of Syrians are displaced, and there is an urgent need for humanitarian aid and rebuilding infrastructure. The Syrian people and government also need sanctions to be lifted. Establishing a stable and inclusive government that can represent all factions and ethnic groups is crucial. The economy, long devastated by years of conflict, needs rebuilding, and it will require significant international support and investment. Regional and international powers have vested interests in Syria. That complicates the path to peace and stability. And recent statistics highlight the ongoing challenges. As of December 2024, more than 1.1 million people have been newly displaced across the country since the escalation of hostilities in late November. Over 40,000 people are staying in 240 collective centres across northeast Syria, receiving food, hygiene kits, and also psychological support. Nearly 700,000 people across Aleppo, Idlib, Homs, and Hama have been provided with food assistance since the escalation of hostilities. And 16.7 million people, are in dire need of humanitarian assistance, up from 15.3 million in 2023. Over 90% of the population in Syria lives below the poverty line. 12.9 million Syrians are classed as having food insecurity, and 7.2 million are internally displaced. Our panel of experts will provide insights into the political, social, humanitarian and economic hurdles that lie ahead, as well as the opportunities for peace, for stability, for a better Syria. Joining us today is Dr. Munzer Eid al-Zamokani, author of Syria from Revolution Below to Holy War. Fadl Moghrabi, the founder of the Syrian-British Consortium. Charles Lawley, the Action for Humanity and Syria Relief representative. And also Duna Haj Ahmed, the Syrian journalist and human rights activist. Joining me online is Dr. Nizar Tome, the Syrian political activist. Welcome to you all today. Let me start off with you, Munzer. You wrote a book about the revolution, and you mentioned the different phases that it went through, from a peaceful, people-led revolution to an armed insurrection within the country, and then obviously international players taking a huge part. That's now history, and your book is obviously very, very weighty in that sense. In terms of moving forward, the challenges that I've said, the statistics that I've read out, is enough to actually shudder somebody and think, how on earth is Syria going to achieve this? What's your hope in terms of what takes place next?
Thank you very much. Actually, it's a very complicated process. There is hard and difficult days coming ahead. But first of all, we have spoken about phases of revolution. We have phases of victory and stability. And we passed the phase of victory. We achieved victory. Assad regime for no way to return back. Syrian people had achieved victory. Now we're moving forward towards stability. Law and order. We have to start from law and order. I think the new government has to have its control, full control on the whole country. Of course, there is, as you can see, there is now the Kurdish militias northern east country. There is a lots of like problems coming in some parts of the country. So the first thing, the government, I'm speaking now politically, because we cannot achieve any economic or any social or any food security without making security is achieved. So we have to achieve security through stability and law and order.
Okay.
We have to have law and order so the process can start in terms of in economy, social, rebuild the country. This is very, very important to start from there.
Okay. Fadl Mughrabi, to you. Dr. Munzar said law and order. But I put it to you, when you have the country still fragmented, he mentioned the Kurds who are occupying large swathes of Syria, have got their own infrastructure, their own perhaps government in there. You've also got the Israeli occupation of Syrian Golan Heights, and also more of Syria since November. Do you believe that law and order itself will give Syrians the hope they need, or is this a little bit more, for example, needing more outside players to take a more active role within your country?
Hi, Master. Thank you for taking the opportunity. I'm really glad to participate in that debate. It's a very important question, really. Thank you very much for bringing that question to me. Yes, by all means, Syria has been fragmented to the start. The previous regime has divided the country into loyal and opposition. That is in the simple term, but certainly there is a lot of other player as well, which is the Kurdish player. And the Kurdish player, unfortunately, I wish they are calling Kurdish. SDF is all driven by the PKK, and the PKK, we all know that they are a terrorist organization, even has been labeled terrorist organization by the UK government, by the USA as well. And I'm very really surprised that the US has been using this terrorist organization to stabilize the eastern part of the country on terms of fighting Daesh. In fact, now the new government and the leadership with Ahmed Shara has already met with a lot of representatives from the Western government, including UK, European Parliament, and also from the US themselves. And he already has offered them that we are able really to control the security and the stability of the country, providing that you are giving us as well some help, some support, and especially support with the negotiation with the SDF. Because we all know that the SDF are not really, most of them are foreigner fighters, they not belong to Syria anyway, and they don't need to be in Syria. And that's why the Turkish government has been always really careful about SDF collaboration with the Americans. And the Turkish has been always very sensitive about this issue. So surely if the new US government now, led by President Trump, is able to withdraw some of the support to the SDF and tell them that's it. He already declared that before. We heard that from himself declaring during the
primaries,
when he was in preparation for his election. He said that SDF are not angels, and they are even worse than Daesh. And he's prepared actually to pull away some of the support, because the old support, it was like a business support in regard to control Daesh. And now if the new government, led by Ahmed Shara, is able to control Daesh and to make sure that Daesh is not going to come back on the scene, surely SDF has got no justification to stay. And surely this part of the country need to be coming back and being united with the rest of the country.
Okay, thank you for that. So, Charles, you are representing the charity sector, lots of work that you've done in Syria ever since this whole revolution took place in 2011 and beyond. Obviously, I'm sure you'll be continuing your work. Security is obviously a big issue. Both your predecessors have mentioned that. In terms of the charity sector, how important is it that you have security in the country, or is it the fact that Syrians actually need aid more than even security because their day-to-day living costs, especially with so many trying to return back to their homes, is going to only increase? And we had this discussion, I think, online at some point as well. Are you going to be able to meet the challenge? And is Syria going to be able to meet that challenge?
So I think it's a really good question. I will say, for security issue, when it comes to aid workers, there's now a relatively lot more security in that there's not a regime actively targeting aid workers like there was pre-December. I think, you know, there's due to how the war has created levels of poverty and levels of humanitarian aid, need for humanitarian aid, there's going to be a huge need, and there needs to be a lot of external support in funding this. Over the past 13 years, Syria's humanitarian response plan, as designated by the UN, has always not been, the funding target has never been met. And now, to support in rebuilding Syria and to support for a secure and stable Syria, it's more important than ever to do that. And the easiest thing for governments, not just Western governments, but all governments to do is lift sanctions. Not just easing sanctions, lifting sanctions. A lot of governments are cutting back aid budgets. Lifting sanctions is free, so they can support and it won't cost them a penny. Yeah. And it is, again, it's important to differentiate between easing and lifting sanctions, because there's always been exemptions to humanitarian sanctions, but it's made a little difference. You know, financial services will see, oh, you're working in Syria, we're not going to touch it. There's sanctions, even though there's humanitarian exemptions. Investors are going to be put off because, oh, we don't want to talk to this government because there's sanctions in place. It would be a huge first step for the international community to support Syria in the rebuilding effort and meeting those humanitarian needs, to first lifting sanctions and then secondly, for the first time in a long time, meeting the funding needed to support the recovery process. Okay, so we've got security, we've got sanctions, relief. Duna, you're a Syrian journalist and also a human rights activist. What do you believe is the priority for this new Syria that's emerging? Ahmed al-Sharaa has been receiving international, international leaders, for example, the leader of Qatar. He's been to Saudi Arabia. His first overseas visit was to meet Mohammed bin Salman. And then he went to Turkey and he met President Erdogan. And there's talk about him meeting President Macron of France. Is that the way to go about getting diplomacy, which I believe it's probably about the sanctions point? Is that the priority?
And the idea is that, although, first of all, thank you so much for having me. The idea, although those visits are very important, but they are still just diplomatic visits. Sure. They are nothing other than diplomatic visits. We haven't seen anything changed on the ground. We haven't seen any sanctions being like the sanctions are still in place. Nobody is talking about the sanctions. I say the priority for now is the security of people. The everyday needs for people, electricity, the economical reforms, so all those kinds of like everyday needs for people. This is the priority for now. Of course, the transitional justice is very important, but I don't see this is happening now. It requires it's undoubtedly important, and of course it will prevent Syria from going into the cycle of civil war and for the future and like a cycle of violence. But at the same time, it's not the priority now because it requires lots of logistical details and needs and legal needs that's not here for now. So the priority now is the needs of people. The priority also, actually, we've seen the president now, the interim president. I say this is the perfect solution for now, but it's also very important that it's not the permanent solution. Like sure. we need elections. Maybe the presidential elections it's not easy to have for now, but the parliamentary elections, the constitutional reforms are very important. All those details are very important to bring Syria to the right. I'd say, road. Also, all that I'm talking about, it requires a time frame, a clear time frame from the current interim government. Okay, well, that's very interesting because I was wondering when we'd get onto that point of democracy and you know, that's what the revolution was about. Dr. Nizar, wasn't the revolution that started in 2011 about
human rights, but more importantly about democracy, having a say, asking the leaders to give a bit of ease, asking Bashar al-Assad to allow more participation from the people. We've not heard too much of that, apart from vague references to perhaps an election somewhere in the future or setting up a committee. We do know that's going to happen about the constitution. How important for you is that in terms of having a central role in ensuring that this revolution does not go awry like others have done, for example, in Egypt?
Thank you very much, Mas, for having me once again. Regarding your question, I think that we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. So I don't think this is a worry about democracy. The main worry now is that we cannot do proper election. Half of the population have been either internally misdisplaced or they are outside refugees in different countries, including Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon, and Europe mainly. So in order to do a proper and correct election, you need to do a proper census, basically, to count the population. And in our case, half of the population is outside or internally misdisplaced. So this can't be actually done straightforward. We do really need time to make it properly. I think it's very much logic that Ahmed Shara and his administration will need probably between 3 to 4 years to make a proper election in order to make the correct one. I don't think the constitution is priority now. The constitution has never been our problem. Our problem was the injustice, the misuse of the constitution, basically by the old regime of Assad and who ran away. So the injustice, the democracy. So I think the administration of Ahmed Shara has achieved already, has progressed very well and has achieved many goals. So if I tell you a few numbers, for example, on the 8th of December 24, the $1 was 17,500 Syrian lira. On a month later, on 8th of January 25, $1 was 11,600. That's about 40% less.
Yes.
So the lira has improved by about 40%. Nowadays, $1 is equal to 9,500 lira. So there is constant improvement. It's almost actually dropped by half, $1. It means the lira has improved by almost 50%.
Yeah.
This is significant improvement in only 2 months, or even just few days, less than 2 months. Also diplomatically, we can see that already Ahmed Shara has visited Saudi Arabia and Turkey. We have received a visit from the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad. Already Asad al-Shaybani has attended Davos. Damascus has been the station of visit from many foreign ministers, including Germany, France, Spain, Italy, many European countries, in addition to Arabic countries.
Okay.
So I think they have really achieved. I know we have actually huge challenges lies ahead of us, but I am very much optimistic because we are on the right pathway.
Okay.
I know they mentioned security and the human needs of our people, our population. These are number one. Also, in the uniting the country and the liberation of the northeast of Syria is also one of the most important priority.
Okay, I'll stop you there. Thank you, Dr. Nizar. Dr. Munzir, lots of talk about all the different challenges that Syria face and what the priorities should be. I think most of them people would support and say absolutely correct. But is Syria actually going to be a different entity to what it was for so many years since its independence in 1946? And do you believe that there's enough of a unity amongst Syrians, and by that I mean also the minorities, the Shia, the Alawites and others. Obviously, Alawites played a key role in the previous regime. And the need for the Sunni majority to get justice, for example, for the atrocities that were committed for so many years.
Absolutely. I think we have a problem here underestimating the achievement. It's not just changing the regime, what happened in Syria. Syria went into a social revolution, not just political revolution. There's a social revolution. There is going to be a lots of things to be changed in the country. The social from the minorities who was taking control, minorities was allying the Assad. Now they will be marginalized, like particularly. But maybe for the time being, in the future, of course, they will be like one country. People can impose.
Sorry to interject, but are you almost saying that the next phase of Syria has to be a secular regime based on a Western model, or are you trying to create a new model which is, has the best of all? I don't know.
Don't put word in my mouth. I didn't say any secular. I don't believe in secularism myself.
Okay.
I don't even believe in the democracy of the West.
Sure.
I never been a promoter of Western democracy because I've been here in the West more than 30 years and I know what the problem of democracy, and I don't want this democracy to be applied in our countries. So no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we are going into a social revolution.
Yes.
Everything will be changed. So the social pace, the contract between people, will change.
Okay.
So as you said, the Alawites was, of course, Bashar al-Assad was relying on the Alawis to influence his power, and then a lot of massacres happen. A lot of criminals has to be brought to justice. This will affect all these minorities. Am I right or not? So now we've got, for instance, the Druze. Till now, they don't want to give allegiance to the new government.
No.
So there's a problem. So how come, as I said, from my first step, law and order, everyone has to submit. To the government in Damascus.
Okay.
Now, go on.
No, sorry, because we're coming to the end of the first segment. I just want to get Fadl in. Fadl, you mentioned Turkey, and Turkey had for many, many centuries the millet system, because Turkey was actually ruled Syria for many centuries itself. And the millet system used to provide rights and needs for different localities, different populations in different areas of the empire. I've read, and people are saying increasingly, that perhaps that's the model that Syria needs to be based on, or something like that. What do you think? I mean, is that something you've got a view on?
Well, I don't think that Syria has similarity to any neighbor country or even any other country in the world.
Yeah.
Syria has a unique population, which is, we used to live, all of us, under harmony and really citizenship without any problem at all.
Yeah.
But if you look at before Assad, the population has been always really in so much agreement and harmony. Even if you look at the previous presidents, we have a president from Christian minority, we have a president from Muslim minority, we have even president at some stage from Kurdish minority.
Yes.
So that's not the problem, is the minority issue. I think we used to live all together into a very good harmony and agreement. But then I think all the problem arises when the Assad regime take control and he start to playing into secular system, and he start to pulling people apart, and that's what divided the country. So now what Ahmad Shara is doing is try actually to reunite the country, and this is what we need to do. We are all Syrian under the umbrella of the Syrian government.
Okay.
So that's what we need to achieve. Forget about any ethnic minority because we all equal under the law.
On that point, Fadl, I'll ask you to just pause there. We'll be back straight after this break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to continue this discussion. Welcome back to the debate. I'm your host, Mas Patel, and today's topic is Syria's path forward, what lies ahead and how to get there. With me in the studio is Dr. Munzer Eid Al-Zamalkani, an author, wrote a book, Syria from Revolution from Below to Holy War, Fad al-Mughrabi, the founder of the Syrian-British Consortium. We've got Charles Lawley, the Action for Humanitarian Syria Relief Charity humanitarian worker. Duna Haj Ahmed, a Syrian journalist and human rights activist. And online we've got Dr. Nizar Tobe, a Syrian political activist. Duna, we just heard before the break a discussion about the various systems. Do you believe that Syria needs a system, because you're a human rights activist, needs a system modelled on perhaps the West, or is it something that they need to look at more locally? What's going to work? Because what system do you believe is going to guarantee the rights of Syrians from all backgrounds, of all creeds, and of all nationalities, I suppose?
Okay, thank you so much for raising the question. Dr. Munzer previously said something very interesting. He said that our problem was not the constitution, it's about the application of the constitution. So the same here, it's not about the system, it's about the application of the system. Of course, also, I do believe that Syria is very unique. The context of Syria is very unique, so we can't just bring, actually, we can never bring to any place like a scenario and apply it in other part of the world. No, it's not happening. Also, we've had the revolution. The revolution also, actually, I don't believe it started in 2011. It started way before in Syria. Everything in Syria was leading to the revolution. We have done all that, so we need to hear from the people. So we need to hear what people in Syria want, what people in Syria want to see happening in Syria, which kind of constitution, which kind of system. We need to hear from the people, and that's why we are urging now for like a constitutional reform. We want the parliamentary elections. Those are the steps which will lead to the presidential elections and which will lead to the stability of Syria right now.
Okay, Dr. Nizar. When we spoke previously, when the revolution was taking place in December, I asked you whether an election to elect Ahmed al-Sharaa, whoever it is the most important priority, and you said no, and you've repeated the point today saying that's not the important thing. But I press you on the system. What system is going to work for Syria? You must have thought of this. You've had 14 years as Syrians to think about, well, actually, this is what's going to work. And it's either going to be based on secular values, and I bring that back into the discussion, or it's going to be based on perhaps Islamic values. What is the priority in terms of where the value system comes from for you?
Obviously, many debates and discussions have happened in the last 14 years among us as revolutionists. I think most revolutionists have agreed that what we wanted is a democratic country. This is what we wanted. Obviously, the election will not happen now, but this is what we're hoping for. You said, so basically, I think this is, if we work, secular will not work with us because there is no point of replacing secular regime, which was Assad, was actually a bright example of secular regime with another secular regime.
But Dr. Nizar, can I interject and ask you then, can democracy and a non-secular regime or non-secular constitution, for example, based on Islam, can both of them work? Where are you going to take the example from? Is it Turkey, for example, in the north? Is that your example?
No, actually, Turkey is not our example.
Okay.
Our example actually is, for example, one is the UK is non-secular and it is democratic. The US is non-secular and it is democratic. Many other European countries, not France. France actually is secular. We don't want secular. We want because our religion is Islam. Most people, 85% of our population is Muslim. So we do want Islam to play part of our daily life. We do want Islam to play part of our constitution.
Okay.
Islam is very important to our values. We take basically all our values, it comes from Islam.
Okay, Dr. Nizar, I'll ask you to just pause your thought there. I'll come straight back to you. Dr. Munzer, you took umbrage with me when I mentioned the word secularism. Yes. You've just heard Dr. Nizar talking about Islam being a central pillar of what takes place next. And obviously Syrians in the main follow the Islamic faith. But the West does not want any form of Islamic or orientated government that goes which is based on the principles, perhaps, yes, that's acceptable, but to actually follow, for example, the Sharia, that's where they have a real problem. What are you going to do about that?
I'm not sure why the West having a problems for having a Sharia law. So in Syria or any Islamic country, we are Muslims. We want Sharia law to rule us. So what the problem? Do hear people interfere what the people in the UK want to be ruled under? So no one. So why this interfering?
But Dr. Munzer, when Sharia law comes up in the context of this country and the discussion that takes place, or in the West, it's about the application of, for example, capital punishment. It's about the rights of women. It's about the rights of minorities, for example, having to, in their eyes, pay a jizya, for example. Are you going to have an updated model? What's the...
I tell you something. Here, this is not an Islamic country. We speak about Muslim country. Like the vast majority of Syrians are Muslim countries. So,
yes.
So there is no comparison between the UK and Syria or any Islamic country in the region. So as Dr. Nizar is saying, we've got our values. So we don't want anyone to lecture us to what we have to be ruled under. So we've got our values. Islam is comprehensive and can be, I'm sure, gradually with the implication of the rules of Sharia law. I'm not scared to. I am a doctor. I've taken from a good university in the UK, and I'm telling you, I love to have the Sharia law in my country.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm not shy of that.
Okay.
Because I feel secure. This is our religion. This is our values. But I never asked to have Sharia law in the UK. Because I respect the UK, I respect the people of the UK, but this is my country. I want to go back to my country. I want to see Sharia law in place.
Okay, Fadl, the West has an anathema to Sharia. Do you believe people like Macron and Starmer in this country or Trump in America is going to lift sanctions against Syria if it's going to pursue a future where Syrians will be ruled by a form of Sharia law? Do you believe that's a realistic possibility? Because many would say, actually, that's not what they'll be supporting, and certainly not what those who are in power, parliamentarians, whoever it is, opinion formers, will be definitely saying that this is not what we are going to be able to support.
Well, let me just be clear about this. We haven't actually even introduced Sharia law in the meantime. But what is being proposed,
sure,
that we are going to reform our institution to be compatible with our ethnic minorities, with the population.
But Fadl, Duma said earlier that the problem wasn't the constitution, it was the application.
The application of the constitution.
So are you saying you've got something there that you can...
But then the new government now is looking forward really to apply the law and to apply the constitution.
Okay.
So when we stick to the law, when everybody is under the umbrella of the law, has to behave and has to be, living as a full right of citizenship, and he is even open up to practice any religion he wants. It's not the problem is the religion. The problem is to apply the law and to be everybody equal under the law. Citizenship is what we're looking for, not really to apply the Sharia law as something you brought in before, as it could be really not really meeting their approval from Western country. But this is not even the Syrian looking for. What they're looking is to apply the law, is to be equal citizenship, human right, preserve, and get everybody under the law equal right. And that's what we are looking for the future country.
Okay, Charles, you've had your hand up. What's your view on all this? Because you've got a special perspective.
Yeah, so I want to take a counterpoint that the West doesn't want Syria to have Sharia law. I think that's a point, but I think also, we're living in an age, and it's very different to what it was 14 years ago, and that actually what the West is becoming so insular and so myopic that I don't think they could care less what the system is, as long as they're not getting refugees, as long as, Trump says, not our problem anymore. I think that you can have any system you want.
Fair point, yeah.
And I also think, prior to December, vast swathes of Europe were getting ready to normalise ties with an Assad regime, which the world knew were committing mass-scale, systematic torture, murder, human rights abuses. So I think that the West probably just... they might not be overly happy about it, but as long as it's not their problem anymore, I don't think they'd care that much.
Duna, let's move the debate on. A lot of regional leaders have come to, are meeting Ahmed al-Sharaa. If Syria becomes a success, do you think it will be a threat to the other governments around and the models that they follow? For example, the Gulf monarchies or Saudi Arabia, or perhaps Jordan and others. Has Syria got the ability to be a destabilizing influence because it's going to be successful in your, for example, with what Syrians achieve in the next 5 to 10 years?
We want to be a success, and we will be a success, and we are not looking to be a threat to anybody.
Okay.
Actually, we are not looking for wars. We are not looking for any conflicts with anybody. We are trying to rebuild our country. We are trying to rebuild our system, our economic and everything. So we are not looking. And actually, yes, Syria has lots of potentials. You've seen that we've been migrants and refugees all around the world for 14 years, and you see what Syrians did all around the world, actually, all of us. So yes, all Syrians, they have potentials inside Syria and outside Syria. I've been hearing stories from my friends who've been to Syria after the liberation, and they're telling me what they see in Syria. And I'm very proud as Syrians. So yeah, we got the potentials. Of course, we can be a threat, but we don't want to be a threat. We just want to rebuild our country and to focus on our country.
Okay.
Who wants to see us as a threat? And that's why they want to actually prepare for like the unsuccessful of this government, or this is their mentality. This is what they want to do. This is what they want to see. This is what they are preparing for other countries. But I don't think this is our intentions. Can I just add a very important point, please, regarding the previous discussion? We've been discussing about secular or Sharia law or whatever. You mentioned France. France is a secular government, and this is the worst secular government we are looking for. So is it about the secular or Sharia law, or it's about the application of it? It's about having a constitution where we all, as citizens, under this constitution, under this law, protected, our rights are protected. I'm Muslim Sunni from the majority. I hate to say majority, and I just consider it components of the Syrian community.
Yeah.
As a Syrian Sunni, which is supposed to be from the majority, I've been discriminated in my whole country. So the Sunni, who were the majority, we were not free to practice our prayers, or in the military system. When I heard stories from my father, my brothers, and my friends who went to do the military service, they go to prisons because they are caught praying. So we've been discriminated as Sunni, as majority in our own country.
Okay, I was going to bring you back in, Dr. Nizar, but I saw a hand up by Dr. Munzer. Do you want to make a point?
It's very important what you mentioned about the regional states. No dictatorship would see successful revolution as something happy for them. So all of them, they will feel now, even they try to be friend with Syria, all of them, they don't want our to be successful, because no one on earth would, a dictatorship would welcome revolution from below. Yes. This is like because this is something against their identity. Mm-hmm. So now they're looking at Syria as a threat. They don't want it. Now Ahmad Sharaf, for instance, he came through a revolution. He is a stranger among the whole region, take the Arab region. And I'm afraid it's back to the values of the West. Look, they said, oh, America, that we promote democracy in the Middle East. We promote Britain. We always say we promote democracy, human rights. Where are the human rights when our women were in prison? And they know that. What about democracy? What their friends are dictators. Mm-hmm. All these dictators in the region are the friends of the West, are supported by the West. So where are the values? So this is hypocrisy. I'm afraid to say. This is not democracy. It's hypocrisy, not democracy.
Yeah, Duna, I'll bring you in. I just need to.
I'll just conclude in one sentence.
Please.
The threat is that we are giving hope to their people.
Yes.
So we are a revolution,
and
we are a
that was
success.
my point, yeah.
So we are giving hope to their people. So this is the threat. They don't want us to be a successful example, because in this example we are giving hope to their people that we can succeed.
Okay, Dr. Nizar, my question to you was going to be, and it still is, that just to develop this idea about Syria being a threat to the rest of the region if it becomes successful. We had Libya, where there was a revolution. Lots of Libyans I spoke to at the time were as hopeful as all the Syrians that I'm talking to now. Egypt, I mean, what a huge country, the cradle of Arab civilization, as many would call it, certainly in terms of culture. But again, that revolution failed. What makes you certain that Syria is not going to be making those same mistakes that were made by the Libyans, by the Egyptians, and also latterly, where it all started, the Tunisians?
What makes us certain? We have actually many reasons to be confident that these things happen in Egypt and Libya and etc. will not happen with us. Number one, we have actually a huge, very strong country behind us, and this, which is Turkey, is the second force in the NATO. So they want this successful. They don't want it to fail. So any threat to our revolution, it will be protected by Turkey. Number two, we have actually our people in the street every Friday. You see them. Everyone tells them the revolution is over. They say, no, we want to celebrate. Actually, they don't want to celebrate. What they want is to show people, to show any foreign forces like Iran, like Shia in general, Hezbollah, that we are here. We will protect the revolution with our bodies. Number three, we have a strong army. Now it's about 100,000, and if needed be, can be 200,000, 300,000 within a very short period. So basically, all these reasons will assure us that our revolution will not be the same, will not fail the same as Egypt, as Libya, or as others. So basically, also, I repeat what colleagues said, that we don't want to pose threats to any other countries. However, if these countries are corrupted like Egypt, of course they will feel they will feel threats, because if you're corrupted, you will not like to see next to you at next door somebody who is working right, who is democratic, who is not corrupted, who is building their country. Yeah, because the comparison will not be at your best for your best. Just one final thing.
Please, quickly.
You mentioned very quickly. You mentioned the capital punishment possibly in the Sharia law. The capital punishment is actually practiced in about half of the U.S. Half of the states are still practicing capital punishment. Nobody talks about the United States.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Sharia law, this is the hypocrisy, Dr. Munzer.
Thank you, Nizar. Dr. Nizar, a point well made. Dr. Munzer, we're coming towards the end of the program. In terms of where Syria is going to be, say, in 5 years' time or even 10 years' time, what's your ideal? Where do you say, right, in 10 years' time, if we have this debate again, where are you going to say, if we are here, we are successful?
It can be a beacon for the Middle East.
Okay.
No doubt about it. The whole Middle East will change because the changes happen in Syria. Not just the Middle East. I'm sure about what I'm saying. If things went well, if the Western influence undermined, let me be clear. We need to lift the sanction, not more than that. We don't need aid. We don't need anything. Maybe for the time being, yes, but in the future, we can build our country.
Okay.
We've got a lot of resources. Just lift the sanctions, and I'm sure Syria will be a beacon for the whole region.
Thank you. Same question to you, Fadl. Syria to be a beacon for the whole region, is that what you are looking for?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, it will be. And I can tell you, the Syrian has suffered a lot on the last 14 years, and they have paid the heaviest price ever. And they have got the determination, they've got the awareness, they've got the intellectual, they've got all the abilities. There is plenty of potentials for this population to rebuild themselves. And they will be able to rebuild themselves with the help of our Arab countries, with the help possible, with the less interference from the Western countries. I believe Syria will rise again and will rise ahead as the better, maybe the best country on the Middle East.
Well, that's the hope for everybody. Charles, I'm going to come to you right at the end. Duna, what's your hope? Tell me.
Yeah, actually, I do agree with the gentleman. If just Syria left, like if they leave us without any conspiracy, if they leave us alone, and if they leave us to build our country by ourselves, I have no doubts that we'll see Syria like the beacon of the Middle East. And like, yeah, of course, we have lots of potentials. You see yourself what Syrians have done to the world all that time.
Dr. Nizar, tell me, 10 years' time, what's going to be your mark of success?
I think already Syrians have proved themselves to be very successful all around the world. More than 6,000 doctors in Germany, and if they withdraw, the German health system may collapse. Already we have proved ourselves in businesses all around the world, in Turkey, etc. Most people, the discrimination against Syrians it was mainly because of jealousy, because of their success.
Yeah.
So I am very much optimistic that in 10 years, we will achieve a lot of goals. Syria will be very much stabilized. Syria will be very much successful. Already we are achieving it will be it will be rebuilt
Thank you,
completely.
Dr. Nizar. I'll have to stop you there. I need to get Charles in, but thank you for that. Charles, you're an aid worker, humanitarian. You've been working, providing aid to Syrians for many, many years. What's going to be the mark of your success?
So, I mean, you know, I've worked on what we call in the NGO sector, the Syrian crisis for 10 years and made hundreds of Syrian friends, like, doing it here. And, you know, I'm really confident it's going to be a really positive transformation, because the Syrian people are, at the same time, optimistic, hopeful, but at the same time not complacent. And I think
would it be, sorry to interject,
yeah,
that you guys don't have to do any work in Syria because Syrians are looking after themselves?
Like, I would love to close down and like never do again. And I think we will get to it. And it just, you know, we're at that first stage now where you won't need the NGOs soon.
Folks, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. Listen, everybody hopes the best for Syria. They've endured so much over the last 15 years, perhaps even longer, 50 years, ever since their independence, when they freed themselves from the shackles of imperialism. That's my prayer and that's my hope, and let's see what happens. I'm sure we'll try and be here in 10 years' time to have that discussion again. Thank you very much.